Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We're going to get this webinar started in a couple seconds. So feel free to go freshen up your coffee, grab a glass of water, and we'll get rolling in a couple seconds here. And hopefully everybody has decent weather. I'm on Long Island here. It's a little overcast, but it's been good the last few days. I can't complain. All right, so let's get started. Hi, guys. My name's Dave Chmielewski. I'm the Senior Growth Marketing Manager here at BigPanda. I want to say hello and thank you for joining today's webinar, The Art of Enrichment, Driving Actionable Outcomes with Data, hosted by BigPanda. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. There are several tabs underneath the viewer screen, and all of you are currently in listen-only mode. If you have a question, please submit it via the Ask a Question tab. We'll do our best to answer as many questions as possible during the presentation. If we don't get to it in time, someone will reach out to you post-event with the answer for you. We have additional assets underneath the Attachment tab. Please feel free to download for additional information about today's topic. If your screen appears blurry, you have the ability to increase the resolution using the gear icon in the bottom right corner. We recommend using 1080p. And lastly, the webinar will be available on demand later on today. It will be accessible through the same URL that you used today to watch again or share with your colleagues. So now, without further ado, let's get started. I'd like to introduce today's presenter, Principal Engineer Tony Bermeo. Tony, take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Dave. It's nice to meet everybody. I'm going to share my screen and we can jump right in. All right. So I'm going to start with a couple of slides here. Dave, you can see everything here just fine?
Yep. Looks perfect.
Great. Awesome. So it's nice to meet everybody. My name is Tony Bermeo. I'm a principal sales engineer here at BigPanda. Today, we're going to talk about enrichment, specifically around driving actionable outcomes with data. And I'm going to move forward here and just talk a little bit about myself for just a second. I've been here for 4.5 years at BigPanda supporting enterprise customers. I have experience across various industries here, selling into them in terms of financial services, insurance, biotechnology, healthcare, advisory, and more. I'm very passionate about automation, reliability, solving complex operational challenges across different sectors. Outside of work, you can find me gardening, tending to my cats and my dog. You can see a picture of them madly in love on the right-hand side there. And I'm a car enthusiast as well, so I spend a lot of time working on my cars. So let's jump in. I want to first level set about what enrichment is, especially in the context of BigPanda. I have a definition here around enrichment. It's appending valuable contextual information to alerts that are flowing into the BigPanda platform, originating throughout your monitoring and observability landscape. Enrichment is critical because it allows alerts to be more intelligently correlated, easier to understand for operators and other team members, and make them more actionable for teams as they engage to drive towards resolution. They also contribute to AI outcomes within the BigPanda platform, and we're going to look at that today. I think it's an interesting piece to the puzzle here. And it aids in enabling the automation use cases overall, and it helps teams responsible for data to understand what's missing. And I think that's a critical piece here. That's more so speaking to when we're missing enrichment data, how do we know what it is, where that gap is, and how do we fill it? So we'll talk about that. Now that we have a good understanding of where enrichment sort of sits and have a level set there, what are customers realizing? What value are customers realizing with enrichment? So firstly, a better understanding that the causes of critical service disruption to positively impact MTTX, right? Identifying underlying system issues affecting performance or availability. Unlocking powerful AI outcomes with features like AIA or automated incident analysis inside of BigPanda and similar incidents, which allow you to look historically at incidents that have occurred in the past and surface them for triage in real time. And just a quick note on the AIA piece, that's really the smart AI generated summaries that are designed to highlight root cause, propose solutions, and also provide you a reasoning behind why we're proposing it in such a way. And the last piece is a detailed analysis of data gaps and areas of improvement. So one key area is that we can grade and score alerts to identify opportunities for improving data quality. And we can also detect missing or incomplete data across the CMDB and other key systems, not just the CMDB. Now let's address the elephant in the room. So I just wanted to call out, right? There's a lot of platforms out there that are promising early detection and rapid resolution, but the elephant in the room is no or limited enrichment capabilities. Hamper those results, and so there are some areas that we like to focus on. And from a BigPanda perspective, we meet users where they are, and I'm just going to build this out. Let me jump back here. We actually have a path to value that we follow for all of our prospects and customers. Now you can see in pink there, we actually have an entire sort of section dedicated to enriching alerts that allow for better correlation, better organization, automated incident routing and ticketing, which allow you to, from a measurable outcome perspective, realize accelerated detection, accelerated assignment, reduction in ticket volume, and a reduction in manual workload. Now, the ultimate goal is to sort of drive you up this chart here as we move towards automated triage and accelerated investigation and auto remediation, which is where all of our customers are headed, and we're making sure that we're meeting them where they are. But this just highlights that at its very core, we will allow you to build that actionable sort of baseline and foundation, so that you can build on top of that and make sure that we're all pacing in the right direction. Now, let's talk about the sources of enrichment. Now, enrichment comes in a variety of different forms. This is a nice representation of what that sort of full stack model looks like. It could be domain agnostic capabilities. It could be on-demand enrichment, full stack coverage. We also see information coming in from a variety of different sort of homegrown sources. Perhaps you're maintaining data in silos, and we want to bring those into BigPanda so we can break down those silos and allow that information to be leveraged to add context to alerts and allow for correlation across domain to build those cross-source relationships. Additionally, on the left-hand side, we have a diagram that looks like at things like the traditional CMDB. We also can give you visibility into how mature your CMDB is and where some of those data gaps are. We're going to look at that as part of the demonstration. There's also cloud providers and virtualization where we can pull data from and utilize tags that are useful there inside of BigPanda. We have integrations with certain tools to pull in topology information and so on. So lots of different options there. I think the case to be made is that we're agnostic from a data perspective. So we're not just attached to a traditional source like a CMDB. Any data that you have out there that's been useful or is useful for your teams when you're triaging or trying to understand, what impact is or who's assigned, or maybe a KB article or runbook, we can capture that, bring it in, and add it to alert payloads to make sure that we're capturing the most relevant information. Now, what does enrichment look like in practice? So this is an example of an alert on the left-hand side that is we'll call this a native payload, vanilla payload coming from New Relic. We can see that there's a host name, a check, a description, and an event type. Now, this is what we're capturing as part of this New Relic alert. And on the right-hand side, we have an enriched version of the same alert. So we're able to take a host name that has a check, a description, and add critical information like application, category, cloud information, cluster, maybe some wiki URLs. If tier is something we can capture, or team, we can bring those in. And we're enabling the enrichment to take place, which allows for much more robust informative data inside of the alert itself. This is all leveraged for things like correlation, for routing, categorization, and so on. Let's take a look at what those data origins might look like. So this is a breakdown of, one payload coming over. This is also the same one from New Relic, just broken down to look at how it might come through and how we can leverage different sources to build out a comprehensive data set. So this example shows you that maybe we're capturing the app, the category, maybe department from the CMDB. Our resource tags from AWS are giving us some additional information. Maybe our homegrown sources are pulling in team and tier. And then we have runbooks and wikis that are pulling in additional information which give us a very comprehensive set and allows you to break down those silos where traditionally, at least I see this all the time, where teams are, if something breaks or something occurs, there's some service disruption, teams are going to go and they're going to look in different sources and different groups of information to understand how things are connected. And this typically lends itself to things like correlation done manually and so on. And we can capture this information and enable that to be done dynamically in the platform. So just to call out some of the wins here, right? Standardized uniform payload regardless of alert origin. So this is looking at a New Relic alert. Many of our customers have many integrations, and the payload will be standardized and look the same, including when enrichment takes place. So we're going to standardize on those tags. So app is going to be the same for all the integration types. Relevant data delivered in real time. So we have an alert pipeline. This will get processed in real time, and you'll have this information available immediately. And then we have a comprehensive first pane of glass we're going to build for those frontline teams to engage in meaningful triage with the information that they're already used to working with, just delivered in real time and in a consistent way. Now, one that often gets missed, and I think it's a very valuable one, is turning host names into insights. So this is an example of a host name where we can take something that's standardized and consistent inside of your environment and break this down into consumable tags for things like correlation and enrichment. You can see here that the first 3 characters, for example, tell us the data center that it's in. The next few characters tell it that it's an app server, that it's in production, and so on. Now I want to pivot to a quick demo to walk through a little bit more about this. So give me one moment while I do that. Okay.
Actually, Tony, we had a quick question, if you don't mind, while we go.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So how does Datadog know which runbook to pull into the alert? Do the runbooks have to be tagged to certain alerts?
So there's a couple different ways that you can think about it. For Datadog, if they are tagged, we can certainly bring those in, but we can also leverage the enrichment platform inside of BigPanda to make sure that we're able to build a run book inside of an alert. So for example, a lot of times, we have a base URL, and then maybe an ID gets sent in as part of the alert, and we can append that to the base URL to create a clickable link inside of the platform. So I think there's a couple different ways that we can consume it. It's just a matter of what it looks like inside of your environment, and whether we enrich that in as part of as part of the alert pipeline to add it to an alert, or we build it as part of the tagging inside of BigPanda's core platform. We can do either one. It's a good question, and we can certainly follow up if you have more if you want more detail on it. We can talk more about it.
Awesome. Thanks, Tony. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's fine. Okay, so I wanted to jump in and I wanted to show a quick demonstration of the platform here. So this is the Incident 360 console. This is where all the alerts come into the console. They're correlated into actionable incidents for teams to engage with. Now, we're looking here at login.acme.com, which is having an outage, right? There's 20 alerts that were brought into the platform, marked as a P1. Inside of the platform here, we can see that multiple different tools are telling us that there's a problem with this application. We can click on a timeline here, and we can take a look at what's occurring. We can see that there were some leading indicators, and then it looks like there was a storage failure that occurred, and then downstream from that, a whole bunch of alerts that were firing off that all shared the same application, category, and environment. Now, it's worth pointing out, if we just click out of this timeline for a moment and we come down to our alerts, we have 20 active alerts, and we can see that we have right here 3 different alerts that came in. If we click on SCOM, we can see that this SCOM host name reported, and we enriched it with application information, category, a dependency, some environment information, and so on. And if we click on Splunk, we can see that we have a very similar looking payload, and that is by design, that we want to make sure it's consistent across all of the different tools that we're going to have integrated. But we can see that we also have that same application name being brought in, the same category, the same environment. The interesting piece to it is if we expand these host names here, we can see that we actually were able to grab the application right out of the host name here. So using that host name broken down to consume that. Whereas for SCOM, this is something where it's not apparent in the host name that that application is brought in, but we're able to enrich this in using the CMDB or any other source that you have that will tell us what application is impacted. So we can absolutely mix and mingle that data and make sure that we're driving actionability regardless of where that data lives inside of your environment. Now, I mentioned earlier that the AI perspective will be enhanced by having that enriched data. And I wanted to show you what AIA looks like inside of the console. We can see that in under 60 seconds, we're able to summarize the entire incident, all 20 alerts that we have correlated into a single incident. We're able to call out exactly what's occurring. You can see that there's an application, login.acme.com, is experiencing performance degradation and database slowness. We can also see that down here, it's going to speak a little bit about the root cause as well. And then also we're going to provide a reasoning as well. And above and beyond that, we can also come over to similar incidents, which will look historically at incidents that have occurred in the past and surface those incidents for us to take a look at. And we'll also provide a similarity score that will allow us to look at that with more scrutiny and understand across a couple of different categories why they're related. So if we look at this one here, this one happened on April 23rd. It's the same application here. We can see that there's we're grading and scoring across 4 categories: entity, problem, topology, and impact. And we can see that the problem and the topology are almost 100% similar. So this allows you to jump out to that incident very quickly. You can see maybe who worked that incident, if a ticket was created there, what the resolution notes were, or the closure code was. We can see here exactly what tools reported that problem in this case, and very quickly allow you to dig in and understand what occurred in the past and help you triage what's happening in real time. Now, one other area I want to call out is around changes. And we can see that 1 hour before the incident started, we had 9 changes that were captured here. Now we ingest changes from any change source that you have. It could be, the ITSM tool that you're working with. It could be, any other tool that you have out there. As long as it can send a webhook, we can capture that change and bring it in and use natural language processing in conjunction with AI to grade and score and mark it as a suspect if it's something that's worth exploring. So we had 9 changes. We're going to go ahead and filter out all the ones that are not worth looking at, and we're left with 1 suspect. And if we click on that suspect, we can see that we marked this as a suspect because the change data and the incident data share similar values. We have login.acme.com, we have production and US East. So we know that this is a similar issue, and it's also been marked as such because of that similar data. And then we go on to explore the root cause change analysis here, telling us that the change was aimed at enhancing performance for login.acme.com, which matches the application affected in the incident. And that information is coming in from the change record and from the data flowing in from observability. So this is empowered by the fact that we have strong enrichment. We can bring that information in, and regardless of where it's coming from, we can use tools like RCC in this case and our change matcher to surface changes that may have caused your outage. Now I want to pivot quickly to analytics. We talked a little bit in the very beginning about our analytics suite and our ability to look at enrichment in a more holistic way. There are a couple of different areas that I want to talk about. One is our ability to grade and score your enrichment rate and show you how many alerts we're receiving and how many have been enriched with context. So in this case, we can see we've received 76,000, almost 77,000 alerts, of which 46,500 have been enriched with context. We'll provide you an enrichment rate here. There's also some filtering you can do by coming over here and adding some filters. So maybe you have a couple of different enrichment sources and you want to filter by a CMDB, or you want to filter by a source that's homegrown to see how valuable it truly is in practice. But at the end of the day, what we'll also provide you is a list of hosts that are not found in the CMDB or not found in any other source that you have out there. Alerts with no CI, non-enriched alerts by source, for example, and these are completely customizable dashboards that we can get really granular with depending on what you're looking to solve for. Now, I have one customer who has many different enrichment sources. They have various homegrown sources. They have a CMDB that's less than mature, less than they would like, and they've been working on it. And so one thing that we're able to do with them is we're able to provide them this export so that they can go back to their teams and groups and work on this information and make sure that they're able to drive up the quality of their CMDB and ultimately improve their enrichment hit rate. Now, on the same thread, I want to pivot to our alert quality dashboard, which talks a little bit more about the quality of alerts. And as you can imagine, ownership, impact, dependency information, runbook that was mentioned earlier, in addition to things like CI, are all dependent on our enrichment capabilities as well and our ability to drive this up. So we give you visibility into what is medium and what is high quality. I will note that this is a static definition of medium and high quality. We work with every customer to make sure that we're identifying what quality means to you, and we're going to have it reflected here. So for demo purposes, we have medium quality being a CI and a check value, and high quality being ownership, impact, dependency, runbook, and whether it's been enriched or not, plus the medium quality values. Now, what you're able to do is explore how your tools measure up against the quality measurement. So you can see here App Dynamics, it's almost always high quality. Occasionally it's medium quality, but it's almost always auto shared. And so, in this case, you can come to the conclusion that App Dynamics is giving you some high quality outputs. And you can look to explore what's still left open. Perhaps there's some tagging you can add to it, or perhaps those are just alarms that don't need to be firing at all. Versus an OEM, in this case, you can see that it's always a low quality alarm, but occasionally it does get auto shared out. So it's worth exploring maybe why that is, or maybe you can repurpose some of that functionality with a different tool that you have in your tool suite. And you could also explore it at the quality level. So you can look at, like, for example, high quality, and you can see how many of your tools are providing high quality outputs. In this case, you can see that SNMP and OEM are not providing anything high quality at all, whereas some of these other tools are providing you at least some high quality outputs. And then you could similarly look at like a low quality measurement, for example. Now, the last piece I want to show is down below, we have our alert quality gaps. So we're not just going to show you, sort of high level measurements like these up here. We're also going to show you where the gaps are. And these lists are downloadable. So you can download these. You can also schedule these to be sent out, to the right teams and groups to work on these. But here you can see, for example, we have our CI. We can see it's missing ownership. It's missing a runbook. It's missing dependency. So you have a perspective on where those data gaps are, and you can make sure that you're working to take action and drive up your quality score. So thank you so much for tuning in. We do have about 7 minutes left. I'm happy to take a few questions if anything pops up around or the dashboards. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
No, that was great information, and I just love that you can help prioritize the alerts based upon the information that's potentially missing to make things better as you move along. So,
yeah, absolutely
insightful. So we did get a question. You mentioned hostname enrichment. Are there any good examples of hostname enrichment in practice?
Hostname enrichment in practice. Yes, that's actually a good question. So we have one customer that recently we were working with. It's a retail customer, and they had very immature CMDB and immature in other areas. And so we were able to leverage the hostname to break down location and other area sites and so on, to really give a perspective on when things fail and they're having issues, where they're happening. And one thing we're able to pinpoint is they had a large outage that spanned the northern United States and part of Canada. And we were able to capture this outage, showing that the POS systems were down across both regions simply by leveraging a host name that's been broken down to provide additional context around where those devices are located. So I think that's a really good example there. It's a good question, Dave.
It's phenomenal information. Thank you. All right. It looks like that could be it for the questions. So what I'll say right now is, Tony, thank you very much for your time and your insights, for sharing this information. Hopefully everybody found this as insightful as I did. Again, the whole session will be recorded. It'll be available on demand using the same link that you used to register. I want to thank you all for taking the time to join us today, And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to your BigPanda contact. Thank you again for joining, and everybody have a great day.